here. I risk everything. I leave everything behind.
Salut. Oh, no,
Или потому что я сильный.
Maga miért él?
Szokott erre lenni magyarázat.
Engem egyszerűen itt felejtettek. Téged is?
Nem tudom.
Klára velem nem boldog. Ha a doktor úr elvállalná őt, neki biztos jobb lenne.
Nem biztos, hogy valami derűs apja tudnék lenni, de a semminél talán jobb. A papád is orvos volt?
Nem volt. Él.
Klára hány éves?
5 és 70 között bármennyi tud lenni.
Véne.
Tanárnő, ő Körner Aladár.
Vidakné. Mi már találkoztunk az elvtárssal. Miért volt a fejed tegnap Körner Aladár ölében?
Mert féltem.
1 órával ezelőtt fölhívtak a kamarából, hogy 3 kollégáról gyűjtsek információkat. Te vagy az egyik.
Lehetne, hogy megint úgy, mint a konyhában, megtetszene ölelni?
Ha engem elvisznek, felszállsz reggel az első villamosra és visszamész Olgihoz.
Ne, nem fogom hagyni! Szerintem mi jártunk rosszabbul.
Mint?
Mint akik elmentek.
Hi, good afternoon everybody. Selamat siang. I hope you guys are all doing well. Semoga semuanya baik-baik saja dan sehat-sehat saja. I'm Noval Yazid, the Festival Co-Director of Europe on Screen, and today we will have another film talk session, the Q&A, with the director of Those Who Remain, Barnabás Tóth from Hungary. But before we begin, allow me to explain a few rules of this session. Before we start, allow me to explain the functions of this webinar. Kindly keep in mind that this webinar session is being recorded and is broadcasted live on YouTube at the moment as well. All participants are muted in order to enable the speakers to speak without interruptions. We also activate the Q&A box that you can see on the right bottom of your screen, where you can type your questions that will be answered during the Q&A part of the webinar, and the entire session will be conducted in English. I am here with Barnabás Tóth. So Barnabás, if you can turn on your camera and unmute the microphone.
Yes.
There you go.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Noval. Hi.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. Yes, this is morning here. I guess
Yes.
must be midday where you
Yes,
are.
it's 2 p.m. here in Jakarta. I believe it's 9 a.m. where you are.
Yes,
at the moment?
exactly.
All right. Okay, so we just screened your film, Those Who Remain, starting yesterday, and the tickets have been sold out. So it's one of the fastest selling tickets in our festival.
Very glad
And
to hear that. Thanks for organizing. By the way, great intros. This whole Q&A started like a movie with the trailer and then some, instructions. Very well done. So I feel like
Thank
being
you.
on the big screen.
Well, we wish to have the festival physically on the cinema and have you here, but unfortunately, we are still in the pandemic. But before we begin, allow me to to share some of the reviews from our social media comments from our audiences. Mostly they praised the delicate pace of the film, and they are also drawn to the two characters in the film. But I would like to begin with the origin. I believe this is based on the novel of the same name that was published in 2004. What draws you to the novel that eventually you decided to write the adaptation and eventually direct the adaptation as well?
Yes, that's correct. It was a novel, and I kind of crossed it accidentally. I knew the author before. She's a lady, she's about 70, and that's her only fictional book. But she's a well-known psychologist in Hungary. She published books on her profession, and we performed on stage as well. She was a psychologist specialist, and I was an improvisation actor at the same theater production. So we knew each other. And one day somebody told me that she wrote this book before, a few years before. So I took it home and read it. And I was immediately dragged by the story, by the depths of the characters, by the richness and the complexity of their relationship. And that horrible era of Hungarian history between the trauma of the Second World War, especially of the Jewish community and the Holocaust, and the communist dictatorship. Within just 4 or 5 years, these two extreme hard political conditions just followed one each other. And among these horrible conditions, this beautiful love story. So this contradiction was very, very affecting to me.
This is also interesting because we don't see many films that show us the aftermath of the World War II, especially in the late 1940s to the early 1950s. So based on your research that I'm sure you did when you adapted the film, what were particular characteristics of people living in the era that you find interesting?
First of all, people who came back from the camps, from the concentration camps, never talked about it. Like really almost like there are no exceptions. Everybody kept quiet for 20, 30, 40 years about what they went through. And people started to talk about, like in the late 80s, early 90s, like Schindler's List was one of the first big major movie to talk about it. And then other, literature and cinema works started to talk about it, where almost like no survivors remain. Like really the last ones like today would be between 80 or 90 years old. So they were so much traumatized, they kept it really deep in their drawer and they didn't want it to be repeated. So even, Judaism or the religion or culture was not really practiced at all during communism. Anti-Semitism was not present, but no one talked about who was Jewish or who was not, actually. The other thing is that so many people lost members of the families. If you take the author, she alone lost 30 members of her family during the war. Almost the whole family was executed or deported or never came back, partly from Germany, Poland, from the Nazi camps, partly from the communist camps. A few years later, just as I said, deep in Siberia, other parts of the nation were deported. Liberals, people from the church, conservatives, aristocrats, many of them were taken. So a huge trauma, many people lost So people were just happy to live, be alive, and happy to survive. And some people collaborated, some people reported on other people. So, you know, such conditions does not bring out the best often from society, to be honest.
So this is the reason why we see characters in the film are so withdrawn. They don't talk much, and they somehow they are trapped in their loneliness because they are unable to connect or to communicate.
Exactly, with the exception of Clara, who is still a teenager, so she revolts. Yes. She's still angry. She still denies the loss of her parents, for instance, and she's still seeking for love desperately. So that's why she's so aggressive or so attacking sometimes. But that's also a form of self-defense. So yeah,
it is interesting. Yeah.
Sorry.
It is interesting to see Clara as, like what you said, she is at the epicenter of this tough period, and yet she wants to explore herself, being a teenager who is curious about everything in her life, and she wants to try them all, including getting the affection of sorry, I forgot the name. Aladar.
Yeah. Yes. So, and imagine her situation. She doesn't have anybody to really talk to. No parents, no brother. She has this aunt, not even a grandma. She's the sister of her grandmother, who is intellectually not really a partner, nor emotionally. She's a very simple woman who just wants to take care about nourishing her. And she even fails in that because Clara refuses to eat. So in this physical and mental condition, she meets the only person who seems to care about her, Aldo, who is also fighting with the same demons as she does. So that's a beautiful connection, and slowly they become everything to each other. And this relationship, this bond, is really so strong and so beautiful that nothing can damage it. No politics, no paranoid look of any system, and not even the threat of sexuality, which is one of the most beautiful aspects of this story. As she gets better and gets older, becomes a mature young woman, and he, who at one point at the beginning of the movie, he says, I'm no longer in that category of man who is able to perform sexual activity. He also changes, and there might be something more, but it's an impossible love. So it was very well written, the whole novel, very, very wise story.
I understand that the novel actually covers also, like what you also mentioned earlier, much later period, because the film ended in 1953, but actually the novel covered also decades and years beyond that. What made you decide to end the film with that period?
There were several practical reasons for it. The most obvious is that the length of a film is like 1.5 hours maximum, and if you want to focus and get deep in certain moments and certain tendencies, you cannot accelerate and fast and just jump years and years. And also the novel, I believe, and even the author admits, that the quality of the last 2 or 3 chapters, or 1 or 2 chapters in the book, it's not that good, as if she was forced to finish the book like in a week or 2 weeks, and she was just rushing it through. Like suddenly she gets pregnant and she gets an abortion, and then suddenly Aldo gets sick, and so many and more traumas, more bad things happen to them all the time. And I thought, no, I don't want to end the movie in a depressive tone. I want to end the movie at least in a bittersweet moment, that for her life is hopeful, and for him, who knows? I let the audience decide about what Aldo feels at the end.
Yeah, but we get the sense of hopefulness at the end of the film, which makes the film great and popular, I would say. And of course, at the heart of the film are the performances of these 2 actors playing Aldo and Clara. How did you find them? If you could share us the casting process.
It was a long and beautiful casting process with Irma Asher, the casting director. First, we focused on the girl because I knew that find, I mean, that's the key, the essence of the movie. If you find a good Clara, the movie will be good. But if she's not really great, then we'll be in trouble. So we searched in high schools, in drama schools, in I put announces, I walked the streets, I went to festivals, concerts, I distributed little card like casting agency, call for a movie. But she was already on our horizon early, because the actress Abigail Szőke, she made the movie before, she was in theater before, so she had some experience. And she was very credible between 16 and 21, which was also a criteria. And also she was very thin. So everything was okay with her, but I kind of lacked some energy from her. I lacked the aggressive, this really teenager type, revolting type from her. So we worked on that part, but she managed to do it. And finally I was convinced that she was the best choice. And for Aldo, I had two actors in mind for a long time, and finally I decided Károly, because they were better together with Abigail. And Abigail also told me that with Károly she felt better, she felt more comfortable on the test screens. And I really love the way he performs, like he has this Buster Keaton,
yes,
face, straight face, with very minimalistic changes in her eyes or mimics. So I think they work really well together.
They do, and we are so taken with them. And they give these two actors, they give very subtle performances in each of their expression, in each of their movement. Was there any particular performance that you want to see on screen? And if you could share with us the kind of direction that you give to, especially to these two lead actors.
I believe in very natural acting, like minimal acting. When I work with professional actors, my experience is that often I have to ask them to be less, to perform less, because those people who work on stage a lot, they have to show more physical action, more work with their voice to reach the audience which sits back there. And when they get to shoot a movie and the camera is so close to their face, I have to always reduce. With these two characters, with the two actresses, I didn't have that problem. With Aldo, with the actor, at the beginning of the rehearsals, we rehearsed a lot before shooting, because I knew that we didn't have time on the set. We had only 19 days of shooting, because shooting is very...
Wow, that's short.
That's very short. Very short. So we have to be focused and we have to be ready for everything. So we rehearsed a lot in a different location, in a stage. They knew the text by heart, the whole scene, all scenes they knew. So they knew everything what happened inside them. So with the actor, I asked him to act as if he was older, because in life he's 42 like Aldo, but Aldo is a much older man, physically and mentally, than an average 42. So I asked Károly to speak lower, slower. We added some gray in his hair, some mistakes on her skin to take him older. His physical, like his body, I asked him to be as if he was,
carrying heavy stuff.
Exactly, carrying heavy stuff. So once I adjusted it, I never had to instruct him anymore. He was like a robot in a good way. Once I told him, he was for weeks, for months, Aldo. With Clara, it was more intensive, because, as I said, I had to, always raise her energy. Like even before every take, I said, sound, camera, Abigail, energy, up. Because in life, she's like, oh yeah, I'm going to drink a tea tomorrow, see some friends. And for Clara, it was a real performance. She's not like Clara at all. So energy, but she managed. I'm very proud of her, because she really absorbed this perfectly.
Since you mentioned that you only shot 19 days, I couldn't help but being curious. How did one shoot a period piece in 19 days? And especially because I admire the production design that you have in this film, from the set to the costume. I mean, they're not just mere backdrop. They also tell part of the story. So yeah, how was the preparation like, given the very short shooting days?
I had two great collaborators. Again, I have to mention. One is the DP. His name is Gábor Marosi, and he's really mastering low lights. He always likes to use the lights which are in the set, like real lamps which on the screen, and he only adjusted very, very small lights from the top. So if you see it on big screen and the projector is not strong enough, then you have sometimes really trouble seeing what's on their face, for instance, in the night scene. So it's he's always on the edge of visibility, but that gives again some natural feeling to the apartment, for instance. And as the movie progresses and we get, they get better and better, and they get, in a way, happier and happier, we added more and more lights and more colors. Like we started to let reds, greens, blues in costumes, outside with natural sunlight, some green in the park. So again, we let some air in the movie and in the audience mind as well. And for the set design, my collaborator was László Rajk. Unfortunately, that was his last movie because he passed away 2 years ago. But he's a real master. He's an architect, but also he's the films behind Béla Tar and László Nemes, like Son of Soul. So he's the best. He was the best in Hungary, probably. So he added some little details to not only to the set, like for every prop and every decoration should be from the era, from the period, but also like little details in the script, like when Aldo thinks that the police is taking him at night, he grabs the suitcase from under the bed. That was his idea, because his family lived through all this era. He was 1 or 2 years old when he was taken every 1st of May, which was a big communist celebration, and the party was afraid of some revolts or some revolution. When many people gather on the streets, it's always dangerous for a regime. Then some opponents was taken to prison, just to be sure, 2 days before, and his family was opponent, so they were taken, like, and their suitcase was always ready under the bed. So he added this kind of personal things as well behind the movie.
Yeah, and certainly this kind of personal connection to the story helps giving little touches that elevate the film.
Exactly. I really believe in little touches, as you say. I like the subtlety of little details, and I like to give information through pictures and not through words. So that's why dialogues are more or less limited or shortened in this movie particularly.
Okay, Barnabás, we already have a few questions from our audience who are joining us right now. The first one is from Santi Rifai. She is asking, the photo album scene seemed like such a pure expression of love. One person finally opening up to share, and the other recognizing the depth of his grief without anything being spoken. Can you speak a little bit about how that scene came out?
Yes, sure. That scene was already in the novel, in the book, so I knew I had to put it in the movie because it's so beautiful that Aldo is so shy and so broken that he cannot tell all this in person, eye to eye to the girl. She just leaves a message. Go through the albums if you want, just put them back. So it's and I knew it was a key moment in the movie, and I was very careful to show the album, for instance, to Abigail, to the actors before. So really she went through live on camera on the pictures and discovering the family of Aldo, that he has not only one son, but he had 2 sons. And Abigail also was preparing to the scene because she asked me to put her favorite musical piece on the radio. because I knew that I can put, you know, little signs like her crying and turning pages afterwards. So I was not, you know, bothered about recording sound. We put some music to let her in really an emotional moment. So suddenly I saw that, you know, she was really taken and heartbroken. So I just very, very, you know, in a very low voice, I was saying, okay, turn the page now, look the next, take the other album. And then it went all, you know, by maybe we were making 2 takes, not more, because it was very hard moment. But all the time on the set, everybody was, not only this day, but all the other days, everybody was so calm and relaxed, and then nobody was shouting. It was not a big crew, so it was not like a Marvel movie that everybody's running, rushing around and taking. Everybody was always, you know, so silent. So it was perfect to make very intimate and slow moments between the two of them.
So in those 19 shooting days, everything went smoothly, calm, and happy.
Well, okay, of course not, because a movie is never without problems. Obviously, we had some, you know, minor or bigger, you know, problems which you have to always overtake. So you always have to improvise on the set. You have to be prepared for every eventuality. But we were more or less well prepared, and there were not many, you know, extras running around, no stunt coordination, no technical things. So the two actors were ready. Night scenes were hard. Sometimes we had to shoot at night, and I saw Clara becoming tired. And, you know, when you are tired, because camera acting is so physical and so precise that you have to stand in the light, not here, but here exactly. And when you are tired and you step here, then you get the shadow in your face and it's not working, and you have to ask, step there, and you get frustrated. So sometimes it happened, not often. And also sometimes I lost maybe my patience once or twice, then I apologized, obviously. But I hope that for all of us, it was a good shooting, and, you know, we came out all as friends as we begin. So it's you know, I really believe in good mood and positive communication. Otherwise, actors get frustrated and the result is on the camera, which is not good.
All right, we move to the next question. This one is from Arumi Hentrino. The question is, hi Barnabás, your film was touching yet infused a distant feeling. I understand earlier you said that survivors of Holocaust are rarely to talk about their quote experiences, and we can see that in those who remained. But is this still valid until now? Also, have you shown the film to Holocaust survivors or people who lived in that era? I was wondering on their responses. Thank you.
So I think it is still valid now, that people don't talk about it still, although, as I said, movies talk about it and books have been published. One of the best examples is Imre Kertész, who won the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2002 for his novel called Fatelessness. And you know, he went through all the horrors in 1944. He started to write the book in the end 50s. He finished in 1973. So almost 30 years later, he managed to finish his book, which is like not big, it's like a book like this. And then he published it. There was no echo, no response for 20 years. And then on the mid-90s, Germany discovered the book, and then, you know, some European success, and then he got the Nobel Prize, and then he became famous in 2002. So 60 years after the happening. So it's a very slow procedure to digest the impossibility of this horror. It's not showable. I didn't even try to show any picture of the Holocaust. I think it's not showable unless you go yourself and see it in Auschwitz, the traces, the hairs, the shoes. Even in this masterpiece, Son of Soul, László Nemes doesn't show it. You know, he shows one face all the time and lets the audio talk and he uses the imagination of the audience to see the horror. So yes. And the other thing is, I did show to some survivors. They showed up, especially in America. I had the chance to screen the movie in major big cities, almost all around the United States. And for instance, I remember in Florida, there was a man who came to me after the screening. He said that he lost 4 siblings in Auschwitz. So he was the only survivor of a family of 5 children. And he told me that, I asked him, how did he manage? How can he survive after this? And also his mom, he lost his mom there. And he said that right when he came back, you know, he recovered physically, and then he went to the army, he became a soldier, he forgot about it, he closed it deep down. And then he told me that during the screening of Those Who Remain, especially the photo album scene, he felt something, he thought about his family for a little while, but while he was talking, he didn't seem emotional. He was already like 91 or 92. So, but he was not taken. He talked about it as like statistic loss. Yes.
Interesting. Okay, next question we have from Kami. The question is, hi Barnabás, could you tell me which part of the novel you think is the hardest or challenging for you to be brought to the film? And if you could tell, is the film truthful adaptation to the novel?
Okay, I start with the second one. I would say the first half of the book is almost the same as the first half of the movie. So I just had to compress. So the hardest challenge for a movie maker when he or she adopts a novel is compressing time. Yeah. In the novel, you have a lot of time to describe the characters, the time lapsing. You can say 2 years later, he even felt good. He felt good again. How do you show that 2 years later he feels good? So it's like you have to sometimes add little scenes in it, and mostly take out characters, take out flashbacks, take out the past. There is a lot of past talking in this book about Aldo's parents, Aldo's grandparents. He came from a rabbi family, so very religious family, and he loses his religion. You know, I had to put it in one sentence. She asks, "Do you still believe in God?" He says, "I don't know." You know, and that's 30 pages in the book. So compress. But the first half was very well written of the book and very cinematographically written. A lot of great situations, like the photo album. Like, I don't know, the first night when they sleep together and she gets to his bed, but there's nothing happening. So it was great scenes. But as I said, the second half of the book, I had to move away and I had to invent episodes and characters. For instance, the whole Pepe, the young boyfriend, the whole Erzsi, the woman who shows up in his life, the patient. This I had to write. I had to write dialogues. I had to write situations. So that's the second half is not faithful, but the book was not. It was not able to fulfill a cinematographic job anymore. It was not like a screenplay anymore. It was more like letters writing to each other, Aldo and Clara. So it was not faithful anymore, this adaptation. But I encourage everybody to. The book is available on Amazon. The same title, Those Who Remained. It's in English, so you can get a lot of additional information about both families, who died, how he died, how she died, things like this.
Yeah. We have another question about a particular scene. Hello, Barnabás. Could you elaborate on the scenes where something distresses Aldo and he would lock himself in the bathroom, like in the middle of the film and at the end of the film, and his tendency to lie?
Yes. Well, when Aldo is saying that I always lie, that's a lie again. I mean, I guess he never lies in the movie. He never lies. He makes only not even a lie when he calls this patient lady to meet in the cafe. He only does it to get rid of Clara, to save her from this dangerous relationship, to get her away and to push him to Pepe. So it's like even that is a self-sacrifice. So he's not that attracted to that woman. It's an okay solution. I mean, he would live his life with her because she's nice and caring and loving, but for him, he would never be able to live again like a full and healthy intersexual relationship, probably. So yeah, when he says I'm always lying, it's a defense. It's a game. It's a game. It's a mask. And when he feels like he has to cry or he has to shake or he has some troubles, he just locks himself in the bathroom, like he does it twice in the movie. And at the end scene, again, you know, like feelings suddenly overwhelm him to see Clara with that boy, himself with that woman, and imagining, you know, in a parallel universe or another era, things could have gone otherwise, and you know, they could have still be together somehow. I don't know. It's like I'm just imagining. I don't want to. That's my interpretation, but every audience member is free to have his or her own interpretation of the ending of the story. But yeah, I guess he's kind of, it's melancholy. It's pure melancholy what he goes through in the bathroom. But then again, he keeps himself straight. He says, no problem. Just Clara, just be safe, no problem.
And now we are talking about the release of the film. I understand that the film was selected by your country to be submitted to Oscar for Best International Feature, eventually made the top 10 shortlist. Did you take part in any sort of like awards campaign? And if you did, how was it?
I did. I had a wonderful distributor in the United States called Menemukan Films that you had the chance to see the logo in the beginning of the trailer. It's a US distributor focused or specialized on Jewish thematic films.
I see. Okay.
And it's a small company led by Neil Friedman, but a very devoted one. He's a great not agent, manager. I would say manager of movies and filmmakers. And he did everything for this movie, and we managed to have a world premiere in Telluride, which is
nice.
It's a beautiful location in Colorado, big mountains, lots of stars, but no fancy cars, no parties, no red carpet, no journalists, no press. It's a very intimate place where you get to cross, Martin Scorsese or Edward Norton, in trousers like dress, sandals with the salmon sandwich in the hand, and you get to speak to them. So it was really great, and then that's how it all started. And we had a long campaign, not a lot of money, because when you get to an Oscar campaign, you need to have a lot of campaign to put advertisements everywhere and buy screenings in LA for Academy members, because you get only one official screening for Academy members for free in a small theater where maybe 20-30 people can come, but there are 9,000 voters all around the world. So you have to buy screenings, which is a lot of money. So you have to invest a lot. We didn't have a big budget, but still we managed to, as you say, make it to the top 10, which is a huge accomplishment for such a small movie and such a small country. So we were really proud. But for nomination, it was a too crowded year. There was Parasite, there was Almodovar, there was a fantastic French movie called Les Miserables. So it was a great year, and we didn't make it to a nomination.
But what was the reception like in the home country when it was released in theaters?
Always very, very positive. It's so great to see so many people. Some people, wanted to ask some question but couldn't because they were in tears, like they were like almost crying, and it was so touching to see sometimes, regardless to age or sex or even religion. I had the chance to screen it in Cairo, Egypt, which is a Muslim country. You would say, really far from Jewish country, but not at all. First of all, in Egypt, there were a lot of Jewish people before, like even before the 40s. It was the biggest majority, and people lived peacefully together, Jewish and Arabs, no problem. So, and I believe there is this universal aspect to this movie, that you don't have to be Jewish to understand the fact that you lose both parents or both children. It's like, it's regardless to religion, I'm sure. I hope so. So people had access to the movie because of these two wonderful actresses and the music and the pictures, which are universal. It's a universal language.
And yeah, just like here, eventually people love the picture, love the film itself. Thank you so much for your time, Barnabás. That's about it, the time that we have for the conversations. I wish we could hear your explanations in person, maybe for your next films or your next projects.
I hope so.
All right, and before we leave, let's take a picture together. So I will ask for our technical team to assist us. So either Panji or Neta. Yeah.
Hello, I'm the the host for today. I'm gonna guide you through the photo session. I'm gonna count to 3 and put on your best pose, and then I'll take the picture.
I tried.
1, 2, 3. One more time.
All right. Okay.
1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Barnabás, for your time. Good luck for your future projects.
Thanks very much, and I hope to see you in person in a few years.
Yes.
In Indonesia. Okay. Thanks for the question.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks for your attention.
Have a good day ahead. Goodbye.
Yes. Bye, Nova.
All right. So that was a very interesting conversation with Barnabás Tóth with his film Those Who Remain. Filmnya sayangnya sudah sold out, tapi buat yang sudah punya tiket dan belum menonton, silakan menonton film Those Who Remain di Festival Scope. Dan untuk penanya terpilih, hari ini Santi Rifai nanti akan dihubungi oleh tim Europe on Screen. All right, thank you so much, everyone. We will soon have another film talk with the director of Stop Zemlya from Ukraine, and it will be hosted by my colleague Putri. And then I will come back later for another film talk with the writer of Rival. I'm Nova, signing off. Goodbye.